I know you guys love doing, because you've probably done it like every year, so we'll do it again. I also have this handout for you guys. It's just talking about thesis statements, things to help you with thesis statements, and it's got some examples that we're going to look at later on after the PowerPoint as well. So the first part, we're going to talk about thesis statements. I know you guys are well on your way with your papers, and you should probably at least have kind of an outline on what you're doing, but a thesis statement is really important, okay? So a thesis statement is something that tells the reader how you will interpret or summarize the importance of a subject you are researching. So it's kind of like the main idea summed up in one sentence. Okay, it's a roadmap for the paper, in other words. It tells the reader what to expect from the rest of your paper. Something that directly answers a question you're asked. So something that you may have started with when working on your paper is, a research question, like what are you researching? Well, a thesis statement is a short answer to that. Okay, and then it is often a claim that others might dispute, so it's going to be kind of an opinion, but it's going to have some facts behind it, but it can be argued. It has one main idea. Okay, so what is not a thesis statement? Thesis statement is not a question. You're not asking people, you're stating it. Okay, it is a sentence. It is not a sentence that just merely states the fact. You're not just regurgitating facts in your essay. You want it to be something that, like I mentioned before, that others can dispute. We're going to look at some examples too, so that'll help you see more of what a thesis statement is and is not. Okay, you don't want it to be too broad, but you don't want it to just be, you don't want it to be too narrow either. You want it to be a happy middle ground. You want something that isn't this, this, and this, but isn't just, it'll make more sense when we look at the examples, I promise. Okay, and it is not just something that just says, oh, I'm talking about this. It's all about wording when it comes to your thesis. Okay, so where does the thesis go in your paper? A thesis statement usually appears at the beginning of the paper in the introductory. Not necessarily, it can be the first sentence, but you're usually going to want to put it more towards the end. Just because if you put it as the first sentence, it makes it kind of, it makes it feel simplistic, easy, it's not really exciting. So usually appears at the end of the first paragraph, maybe even the second, just depending on how long your introduction is going to be. Okay, and then there is some preparation that you want to think about before you write your thesis paper. Okay, so the first thing you must be aware of is who is your audience. Okay, so I know your audience is technically going to be Miss Watson, but if you were writing this paper for like an article or a journal, like who would you be talking to? Like if you're doing it on, let's say you're arguing something about free and reduced lunches, you might be writing it to people who would apply for such benefits in school, or people who don't necessarily need the benefits. It kind of depends on your stance. But again, that's going to change how you write your paper and what your thesis is going to be like. Okay, you must begin with a good topic question, like I was saying. What are you writing your paper about? What is the question you're asking yourself that you're going to answer with your paper? Okay, and form an opinion and make it clear. Okay, so you want to clearly state what you're talking about. You don't want it to be all over the place, but you also want to try to be as unbiased as possible. And I know that sounds like you are completely contradicting each other, but in a way you are, but you want it to be, we call it qualifying a lot in the upper level college courses that I take. You're stating what your opinion is, but you're saying, but I can see this on the other side. Like you may say, you may be arguing for free and reduced lunches for people, so you may say, you know, this is why we need it, this is why it's good, but I can understand why these people don't want it because, etc. And then you go back to your opinion, but you want to seem, it just seems more professional if you can argue for both sides, or if you can make it seem unbiased. You have a better chance of convincing people of your argument or getting people to be on your side if you can qualify both sides of the argument. Okay, so we're gonna look at the worksheet that I handed you. Okay, so on here I just kind of have, you know, again, kind of what a thesis statement is. It's not exactly what was on the PowerPoint, it goes a little bit more in depth. It just tells you, you know, again, it's, you know, summarizing what you're researching, the importance of the subject. It's a roadmap for your paper. It directly answers questions that are asked of you. Okay, and a helpful tip is just a little formula I found just to help you guys when you're looking at your thesis, or even just, you know, editing your paper or editing your thesis. Okay, so a specific subject plus a particular standard, feeling, or feature equals an effective thesis. Okay, and then it talks about again what thesis statement is. Okay, so the examples, the first one's on the front of the page, the rest are on the back. What we're going to do is we're going to look at each of these, and we're going to discuss why these are good or not good thesis, and if they're not good, how we can change them to make them good thesis statements. Okay, so does anybody want to read the first example for me? Don't all raise your hands at once or anything like that. All right, so I'm going to pick on you.
So you want us to just read the statement?
Yeah, just read it out loud.
Something that tells the reader how you would interpret or summarize.
How did that number one?
Yeah, sorry, go to the thesis statement example.
All in
Oh,
progress.
okay. LeBron James' ability to score, pass, and rebound just might make him the league's most valuable player.
Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you think it's a good or a bad thesis statement?
Showing those statistics, so
Okay.
I'd say bad.
Okay, it is bad. You guys are right. You're exactly right. So now we're gonna talk about why it's not good. It is kind of vague. It doesn't really state anything. So a good thesis statement is declarative with no qualifiers. Like I know we want to qualify later in the paper, but let me see. All right. So and it's and it talks about multiple things. We want it to be maybe saying just one of these things instead of all of them, just so it's not going to be such an all over the place paper. So how we might make this good is we might say LeBron James' ability to score makes him the league's most valuable player. And even if you put all three of those in there, you want to take out that might or that just might. So even if you do want to use all of them, if you're writing a long enough paper or can argue all of them, you would just simply take out just might and say LeBron James' ability to score, pass, and rebound makes him the league's most valuable player. You don't want to seem so unsure about yourself. You don't want it to be, just taking out those two words and changing makes to makes, you have a stronger thesis statement. All right, so the second one, I'm going to go ahead and read that one. The key to successful dieting is focusing on a specific goal, which is also the key to successfully running a business and coaching a football team. Do you guys think that one's good or not good? So there's anything.
Yeah, it's good.
It doesn't really point
No,
somewhere
not really.
similar, but it does, however, gives you an idea of the idea of
It's
that
talking
they
about,
are similar.
sorry,
They're not similar, but they are.
I feel like it's talking about like three different things.
Okay, and then why do you think it's good? I'm sorry, I
They
should
have
have
it, why do you think it's good?
Yeah, what do you think it's good?
I feel like I was cooked, man. I was,
You wanted to read that paper?
yeah, man, I was like,
Yeah, I think it covers so many subjects.
Yeah, it does. See, it would be good, but honestly, you've got like two separate good statements. You know, maybe if you said the key to successful dieting is focusing on a specific goal, or the key to successfully running a business, is focusing on a specific goal, or the key to a successful, football team, or the key to coaching a football team is focusing on a specific goal. And that's actually like three different statements. So they're good by themselves, but all together you just got this big mess. Because, you know, whereas with like the, looking back at the LeBron James one, whereas you can do just score, pass, rebound, or you can have them all together because they're dealing with the same thing. On this one, that's, you know, I mean, you might be able to tie them in, but it would make your paper a little bit more challenging to write, and you don't really need to put that on yourself. You could just pick one of those three things and have a pretty decent paper. Okay? So, how about you on the end, want to read number 3 for me?
America's anti-pollution efforts should focus on privately owned cars.
Okay, do you guys think that one's good or bad?
Bad.
Bad? Why do you say it's bad?
I just like that.
Okay. Anybody else have any opinions on that one?
It's good,
You think it's good? Why do you think it's good?
because it states the topic, and it tells you what it's gonna talk about without being too broad, very specific.
And then
One
it's
topic.
good because the price change was bad. I just like that.
These are more related to each other.
They are. It is actually a good one. Thought I'd throw you a curveball there and make it good. Yeah, and it does, if they're the topics are, or the sentences, everything relates to each other. You can tie it all in. It focuses on one specific thing and it states it clearly. It's an opinion, but it's stated like a fact that you can argue. It's not super broad, but it's left room for discussion. Okay? And so the last one, I'll read that one. Illegal drug use is detrimental because it encourages gang violence. Is that one good or bad?
Oh, it's good and bad.
It's like, I don't know, anything's good, encourage gang violence, but, I mean, I guess, yeah.
It's accurate whenever it comes to the topic, and it's easy to stay on topic whenever it comes to that. However, it'd also be easy to distract you from the goal of the subject.
See, I think you're very right. It works as a thesis statement, so, you know, it's maybe not the best. Yeah.
Are they insinuating that illegal drug use is the sole reason that gang violence occurs? 'Cause
Yeah,
like-
that's what they're arguing in the paper.
It's one sentence, like,
Yeah, it is. It's just the thesis. You
isn't
gotta-
this stuff like supposed to be like when you start a TV show, you
I'm just
second
like wondering,
pilot
you know?
episode, like, it's the stuff that's supposed to make you think like, yeah, maybe I'm gonna watch the rest of the show.
I think you're thinking of like the hook.
So this is like the hook, right?
This isn't the hook.
Yeah, no, this is just the start of the paper.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the line.
This is the thing that makes readers read your paper.
Yeah, so I think it can be argued that this one is good or bad. In a way, it's good because, they're stating one thing that they're gonna talk about. But in a way, it's bad because it could probably very, very easily be argued against it. But then again, it is an opinion paper. It is an opinion paper, so, I mean, for the sake of it being a thesis statement in a paper, it would work. It's better than some of the other ones we looked at. Okay, so, and you guys hold on to that because it might help you, these tips on the top part, talking about what a thesis statement is and what it is not. Because any paper you write, you're gonna deal with a thesis statement, like it doesn't matter if it's an argument paper or if it's an informative essay, if it's simply, a narrative essay about your personal life, you're gonna have a thesis statement in there. And I've even seen some people throw it in at the end of the conclusion, but I'm not trying to confuse you guys, so we're just gonna stick with things at the beginning. But that's really all that I have dealing with thesis statements, but what's a really good way to support your thesis statement? Anybody wanna guess?
Research.
Yes, researching what though?
Two of the thesis. First of-
Researching your sources, having strong and reliable sources. That's what helps you have a strong thesis and a strong paper. Why are sources important? You guys are gonna like this one because I have a little picture on it. Yeah. That's a pretty cool picture if you ask me.
Wow.
Hey, I made this myself,
Did you
so
draw that picture?
I could draw that, but I didn't. That's about as good as I can draw though. Definitely not like, not artistic in that sense at all. Okay, so why are sources important? Okay, to be a responsible scholar by giving credit to other researchers and acknowledging their ideas. To avoid plagiarism by quoting works and ideas used by other authors. To allow your reader to track down the sources you use by citing them accurately in your paper by way of footnotes, a bibliography, or a reference list or works cited page is another thing you could call that. Again, you know, I know you guys have heard about plagiarism probably 1,077 times, but it's because it is important. It is very, very, very important. Simply citing something wrong can discredit your entire paper. And I know you guys have been working on this for a little over a week now. About a week now, and it's not until before Christmas break. So I mean, you're gonna put all this work into this paper and just citing it wrong or making an incorrect works cited page, that can just ruin your entire paper. One small thing can turn into one big thing just by simply citing it wrong, okay? So, but going on to looking at sources specifically, we're gonna talk about good and bad, the good versus the bad. Okay, so still have thesis on the brain. A good source is going to have authority, it's going to have currency, and it's going to have purpose. It's going to be current to your topic, you know. Depending on what your topic is, you might get some use out of some sources from 50 years ago, but if you're doing, you know, your topic on like the rates of obesity in America, you probably don't want to use a statistic from like the 1950s. You probably want to use a statistic from the 2000s, just because it's going to have more accuracy with the people that you're talking about today. Authority, that's simply the people who wrote it. You know, like, was it someone who's really well informed, their own research on this, or is this someone who just kind of wants to state their own opinion, somebody with a YouTube channel or a blog? Purpose, again, is it current? Do they have good authority? Is it just kind of, does it make sense? Bad, it's going to be biased, completely opinionated, lack of information, didn't do their research, just simply maybe saw like a group of people dealing on the obesity thing and saw that, you know, 9 out of 10 of those people were obese, so they were like, oh yeah, like 90% of America is obese out of 10 people. And, or it's based on facts that they might have heard, but it's not actually factual. You know, anybody can be like, oh yeah, I heard the statistic, so this and this, but they don't have any, they didn't look into that statistic, they didn't check out their source, and then they didn't cite it. Okay? And we're going to talk about evaluating the quality. Okay? Talking again about those 3 things that you're looking for in a paper. The authority. Ask questions. Who published it? Was it University Press or a large reputable publisher? Government agency, source self-published. Who is the author? Is the content first-hand or is it being retold? All right. The currency. When was the source published? Current or out of date? Purpose. What is the author's intention? Is it a fact or opinion or even propaganda? Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the main sources to avoid, which I'm sure a lot of you know. Most of these, a lot of these you think are pretty obvious, but you would have to look for them, honestly, to really, really know. Because sometimes they can make them look really fancy. They can even get, you know, that URL to not say .com and say .org or .edu if they really know what they're doing about setting up a website and things like that. So you want to avoid blogs unless you can, you know, unless it has the right authority. Personal blogs, opinion blogs, you know, you don't, unless you know their credentials, not many bloggers really have that level of expertise or experience to be telling you information or to be giving you information you want to use in your paper. Then you've got personal websites, which is similar to blogs, but again, that can be, you know, they can be nicer looking. They can make it look like a government agency website or a statistic website. But you face the same problems with lack of credentials, which is simply just their credits, their sources that they cite, how they got their information. Or, wiki sites. We all know about Wikipedia. And we know that while it can be accurate and informative, anybody can go in there and change it. Anybody with a computer can go in there, and honestly, I think you can do it off the phone now. So, you can add, or, I know there was a thing like a college class somewhere, they made up a wiki page just with a bunch of random facts, just to see, how many people would use it as a source. Just because they could, just because you can go in there and change anything you want. So, sometimes they have sources on wiki pages, but honestly, it's best to just avoid them and try to find that information somewhere else. Or even go to the sources it has on the wiki page and get your information straight from that source, if it's credible, instead of using the Wikipedia site. Alright, so hints and tips which we all love to look at and do. Is there an author or authors? If so, what are his and her qualifications? The dangers also with some personal websites and blogs is sometimes they don't even tell you who's writing them. You don't have a by who, and so when you go to make your work cited, you don't have anybody there for the information. Which, unless there's sources, you might not have to worry about, but again, if there's sources, there's usually an author. So that's kind of the main thing that you can look at and look for when dealing with authors and such. Is it possible to contact authors to check the validity of the information? A lot of times, if you are using a blog and you feel like it's credible, but you're not sure, you can go and actually email or contact the authors in some way. Talk to them about it, how they got their research and things like that. Maybe even Googling who they are. But again, you have to be really careful. There's a lot of stuff out there. We're going to look at some websites too in a little bit and kind of look for things to look for when you're looking at sources online. Also, I'm a really strong advocate for the paper book source. Again, just because it's written and printed doesn't necessarily mean it's a reliable source either. Again, you just have to look at who published it, who wrote it, where they got their information, how the information is. But yeah, printed sources are usually more reliable, but they're not perfect either. Again, is the information current? Is the information cited? If so, do the citations appear to be legitimate? Are they accurate? Are they cited correctly? And as you write more papers and deal more with citing sources, it really kind of becomes a second nature. Like, I know you guys have probably written your fair share of papers and cited plenty of sources, and it seems kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? I can't think of it, so I'm just going to say annoying. But the better you get at it, the easier it is. And soon you'll just be able to just jot it down and get it right the first go around. At least the citation part. Like, it's always good to redo your papers no matter how good you think you are at it. So don't think I'm saying that. I'm not. I still edit my papers 2 and 3 times sometimes, and I've usually written, I couldn't even give you a number. Okay, so how in depth is the information? Is it comprehensive? Does it make sense? Does it sound like a bunch of baloney? Does it sound truthful? Does the data appear to be accurate? They say 61% of all statistics are made up on the spot. So is that one. I hear that all the time, sorry. I got a laugh from Miss Watson, so.
I thought it was funny.
It is funny.
It's really funny.
Thanks. Does the data show any bias? Again, is it an opinion? Is it credible? Is it accurate? And I know I keep repeating myself, but it's like I can't really even begin to just, this is just the tip of the iceberg of really how important and serious this is. Like, it's, like I said, it can make or break your paper. Okay, and then is the web page grammatically correct? And is there spelling errors? You'd think that that would be, you know, pretty obvious, but, sometimes people don't pay attention, and it might be something small, comma, splice, a fragmented sentence, but unless it's there on purpose and you can tell it's on purpose, watch out for stuff like that. Spelling errors, simple spelling errors, like that paper that we did last week, that worksheet about, commonly used words. That was pretty challenging, right? You didn't think it would be that hard. Well, stuff like that can appear in the, incorrect sources and things like that. Alright, so now we're gonna actually look at some sources. I might need your help on that.
Okay, if you just hit that minimize button at the top, it should take that away, and then you can get, and then, whatever you want to show up on the screen, you just drag to the right. Just click the tab, and then just drag it to the right, and it'll pull over there. Here.
Okay.
Sorry. It's complicated.
That one's
Is
the
that
first
one? Okay. That we're here. Oh my God. Escape.
Okay, so this is the first source we're looking at. Do I still move it up and down?
No, it's just, it's an extended screen, so it's just to the right.
So, this is the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. Does everybody like follow the bottom?
Yeah, just move your mouse will move over to the right too, and it'll show up over there.
Sorry guys, technology's getting the best of me today.
You can just probably click on anywhere on the website and then be able to
Okay,
control it
so
down.
just from kind of looking at this, what would you say the source is? Do you think it's reliable or unreliable?
Yeah, man. It was on the Walking Dead one time, man.
I would trust them for the most part, you know, I would still check out their sources and things like that. I'm so blind.
Can you guys see what the, URL is up there?
Let's
Can
go.
you tell, it's .gov.
Yeah, it's .gov, and another thing that is a really easy thing to look at is what is your, you know, not all .coms are necessarily unreliable, but you can usually trust, you know, your .govs and things like that a little bit more. Also, if you can see it, it's kind of small, but right here, you can see when it was, I can't even, this is the way to possibly make it, yes, things.
Where's the thing? Is there a thing?
I can't even see it.
Can you not see it on your computer screen?
No, I have it on extended. There you go.
Okay, yay.
Is that better?
Yes, okay, as you can see, the last time it was reviewed and the last time it was updated, it was this year. So it's current, it's up to date. It's got your sources, which is Office of Public Health Preparedness and Resource, or OPHPR. And it's maintained by the same people who also, you know, have the source. But this is a site that's gonna have lots of health professionals, doctors, you know, it's also got this legal here, policies, privacy. It's also got a thing you can comment, contact, the address, phone number, email. So you have offers you can contact if you have questions about specific sources. You can also look for jobs.
Which one do you like?
Lots not your hair color.
Okay, so here's another one, and just
No.
guess if it's, yeah, it's not. Encyclopedia is another thing from Wiki. It doesn't, it's, again, it's the one you can, you know, you can edit it, and I mean, this one, I think this is just the main page of it, but just, you know, looking at it, it's got, today's featured article, the Jackson 5, and then over to the side, it's got in the news, it's got that, anonymous guy, which is, I know a lot of people like him, but he's opinionated. He's simply, you know, not everybody agrees with him, you don't even know who he is. I mean, how can you credit his information?
Really so lame. Where's that man?
I know, that's a good question. We can't credit him because he wears a mask.
The internet is an interesting place.
And if we split it off.
Did you hear that? It's a place.
And you don't look, you don't know, it says when it was last updated, which was over a year ago. You don't have anything about the sources, where the information came from, and then the last time it was modified. Again, modified, it doesn't say, like the other page, it didn't say modified, it said updated and maintained. This says updated, meaning that was probably when it was last checked by somebody credible. Modified was the last time somebody probably edited the page.
And we have no publishing organization or anything.
Yeah, you have no publishing organization, you don't have anybody you can contact. I mean, it has that contact right there on that, but it takes you to a completely different site. It's not on the page like it was with the Princeton Health Season, and then it's a .com site as well.
This one.
Yes. Okay, so another one we have, what is the?
It's .org.
Okay, so just looking at it, the URL is .org. Okay, it's the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance. So just off of that, what would you say that source is?
It's the Utah. Government, Utah.
Yes, so that would make it reliable. Also, you've got, the contact is actually at the top there. It's got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, or you can search. It's got Act Now, Join Us, Donate, and Renew, that's just if you're trying to help the Wilderness Alliance. It's got news events. It has from the blog, meaning that's not exactly the blog, so the blog's probably gonna be a little bit more opinion based. It's kind of more like a news article. It doesn't necessarily have as much on it as like the disease center one we looked at, but it still has the main makings of a more reliable source, especially a lot more reliable than that wiki website we were looking at. Oh yeah, and it's got the contact. You just go over to the menu. It's got issues, and I know on like the blog and the news and events, depending on who wrote it, it usually says the author at the top. If you want to click the name,
From news and events or blog.
There's either one. It tells you the date when it was last updated. And I think it's got it's credited the picture, and then it says who wrote it. And then there's comments, so you can contact the author through that. I'm sure you can look them up, or you can get to them through their other social media sites that they have connected to the page. And then this last one.
One thing I want to point out on this website before we move on to the next one, while this might be a good source, you are definitely going to have to be aware of the fact that this source has a specific purpose, a specific agenda that they are promoting, right? They are supporting the Wilderness Alliance, and you can donate, so it is, I think it's a nonprofit, it has a .org URL, so that means it's a nonprofit organization. That's what .org means. Anybody that is a nonprofit organization can get a .org address. So that's what it means. So I told you guys with .com and .org, you're gonna have to do the evaluating, right? Although this one does seem fairly reliable.
Depending on your topic, also, as you're saying, it's got a specific purpose, so you need it to probably fit your side of the argument, or if you were qualifying even. And also it showed the author, but it didn't necessarily state any qualifications he has. You probably want to look him up, do a little bit of background research on him. Okay, so this one just is I think that's it, .com. Yeah, it's .com. It's on RPB. It doesn't look, as scattered as the wiki website. It's got a date on it. You can find out who wrote it. But would you say that the source is still reliable?
It says personal.
Yeah, exactly. It's a personal blog. So, I mean, again, kind of like with the .org, if he had the right credentials and it wasn't too opinionated, it might be, a valuable source. You might be able to put it in your paper somewhere. But again, you would have to do a lot of checking up on the background. And again, it's not only that, is it a personalized blog, it's a political blog. And it even has a disclaimer, everything on here is personal opinion. So, it's not necessarily, it's not really reliable at all. It's about as reliable as the Wiki page. Anybody can go on there and make one. Anybody can have a blog and make a blog and maintain a blog. I did one for fun once. I didn't maintain it, but I made one just because I could. I can tell you the webpage because I don't know. Because I was young. But so about how far are you guys on your paper? I'm assuming you guys all have your topic. Have you started on like your rough drafts and things like that?
What are we doing, guys?
Yeah, we're researching.
We're researching.
Researching.
We're about in the middle of this, it's useful.
Okay, well that's really useful to this last little activity I have then too. So you guys do at least have your topics picked out. So I would like you guys to get something to write with and paper, or you can write on this beautiful handout that I made myself.
Did you draw it out?
Yeah, I draw just like Word document. No, I didn't draw it. I'm not artistic. Like my drawings, I can't even really do a really good stick guy out.
Alright, maybe what?
I can't even draw a snowman. Like there's my stick guy.
That's
It's
pretty
beautiful.
good. It's pretty good though.
It's a really good
I know.
idea.
I think I'm next.
Like, that's really good stuff. Like, that is perfect.
I don't know. I'm the next Van Gogh. I couldn't even think of an artist. See,
He's just looking at it.
I think it's a good oval.
For real, if that artist is my backdrop, like that's the last job.
That's like the next
If everything
piece right
fails,
there.
I'm gonna be an
Thanks.
artist, I'm just
Hold
gonna
on,
be an
let me
abstract artist.
give her her little
I'll be
face.
like
Yeah,
$1,000.
it's nice.
Like recognized, like, person they use.
Oh, sorry.
Like modern art is stupid.
It's a smile.
Somewhere, mine's good enough.
Okay, so does everybody have something to write with and piece of paper? Okay, so I want you guys, this isn't like for real or anything, but it can help you later on. I know you guys are still researching, so I don't want you to beat yourself up too seriously over it. I want you guys to try to give me kind of a rough sketch of a thesis about your topic. Just kind of what you're about to write about. Just the thesis statement, you don't have to start writing an introduction or anything, but just the things that we talked about, and, you know, go back to maybe even like, if you want to, something that helps me when I'm writing my thesis is I write down what I'm asking myself, like what my question is dealing with my research, and then it's just, you know, sentence. If you have any questions, if you can't think of anything, you know, just look at me funny or raise your hand and I'll come help you out. Also, because I'm really curious as to what you guys are writing about too. Yeah, just like that, that was perfect. I'm really curious as to what you guys are writing about as well, so it'll also tell me what you guys are writing about, because I don't think I'll be here when you guys are turning in your papers. I'm only here for like a couple more classes.
Where are you gonna go?
I'm going on to finals and then Christmas break.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm finishing up. We get out. One good thing about college is we may fit like, you know, year-long courses in a semester, but we also get like a whole month for Christmas break. So. Yeah, it's enough time to forget everything you just learned. Yeah, so I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes and I'm just gonna walk around and be nosy on what y'all are writing about.
You start from the nose and reason.
In between classes. That's the
It's clever, but.
Remember, you guys, your working thesis is due on Friday, so this is good practice for that.
Yeah, it's like a rough draft.
You're supposed to film the whole exercise. Do it? Huh? It's up to you. I don't think, I'll just let her know that the last